Hello out there in cryptocurrency land. Welcome to Real Crypto. Is it too late to get involved into Bitcoin? Well, I'm going to give you some information today that actually just came out today, which is going to explain why it is not too late, why it is the perfect time to get involved in cryptos if you are not already. And if you are in cryptos, why you should hold Bitcoin as a very core part of your portfolio. So today, the news that came out today was the CME Group, who is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and the CME Group actually provides futures trading for all kinds of asset classes: futures, currencies, indexes, and gold, oil as well. So CME Group is a very legitimate company. They're publicly traded. They have a multi-billion-dollar market cap. They are the definition of legitimacy when it comes to financial instruments. And they basically just endorsed Bitcoin by announcing that they are going to put, BC maybe down here, or B down here underneath gold, right? They're going to put the Bitcoin right under gold. And that's going to be huge because this will be the first time that actual institutional investors will be able to actually buy a slice of Bitcoin, and not a literal slice of Bitcoin. They won't literally own Bitcoin, but they will be able to purchase a futures contract. So what is a futures contract? Well, for example, this E-mini S&P 500, okay? That seems kind of technical if you're not familiar with it, but the S&P, you're familiar with the S&P 500. This represents 500 of the largest and best quality companies in the United States. And you can actually trade this E-mini future, okay, which gives you a representation of the S&P 500 index. Now, you don't actually own any of the underlying stocks, but it does give you exposure to the S&P 500, the whole S&P 500 in an aggregate sense, right? So you don't have to go out and buy all the 500 stocks and their weightings. All you have to do is buy the S&P 500 futures contract, okay? Now, futures contracts, they have an ending. They have an expiration date. You can buy the futures contract for March, for June, for whatever. You can buy futures contracts, and they do have expirations, and so these are the months right here: December, March, June, September, December. They typically go in quarters, okay? So we're going to have a Bitcoin December, Bitcoin March, Bitcoin June, Bitcoin September. And if you want to trade in them, you have to open up a traditional brokerage account with Interactive Brokers. Pretty much any futures. I traded futures with Interactive Brokers, that's why I mentioned them. But any kind of futures contract place that deals with the CME Group, which is all of them, any broker that deals with them will be able to trade the Bitcoin contract. So you will be able to trade futures on Bitcoin, which means you can get leveraged correlation. So the S&P 500, this S&P 500 E-mini contract, for every dollar that this goes up, you basically make $100 in the S&P 500. So if the S&P 500 goes up $1 or $1, you gain $100. Does that make sense? Okay. I don't actually think that's the I actually don't think that's the correlation, but you get leverage in that sense. Okay, you get leverage. So if the S&P 500 is at, what's it at now, 2,500. So if the S&P 500 is at 2,500 and it goes up to 25, or to 2572, if it goes to 2573, you're going to make $100 instead of $1. Does that make sense? So the same thing is going to happen with Bitcoin. So this futures is a way to gain additional exposure to Bitcoin outside of just holding Bitcoin, which is what we have to do today, unless you're with Ledger X, which just came out, very recently, the past couple weeks, maybe a month ago. And so they trade options and futures as well. And also the CBOE, which is the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, I think, something like that. They're going to start trading options and futures in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin as well. Chicago Board of Options Exchange, there you go. So largest U.S. options exchange is planning to launch its own Bitcoin's derivative trading products early next year. So we're going to have this as well. We're going to have futures with the CME, options with the CBOE, and this is going to pretty much completely legitimize Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies throughout the globe. Everyone will be able to trade this. Institutions will have exposure, and this will start to open the door for Bitcoin to be accepted by Moody's and S&P and the other ranking companies that eventually, Bitcoin may be able to be held by institutions natively. They may just buy Bitcoin. They don't have to use the futures. They don't have to trade the options, okay? That would be extremely bullish for Bitcoin because there is billions of dollars on the sidelines, and they could potentially put that money into Bitcoin, okay? Keep that in mind. That is definitely something that is possible over the next couple of years with Bitcoin getting legitimized. And the only thing that needs to happen for this to go full force is the government needs to say it's okay to invest in it. And that's pretty much what we're talking about here, is the government saying it's okay to invest in Bitcoin, and boom, then we're off to the races. But that hasn't happened yet, guys, and we're at $6,400 in Bitcoin, and that hasn't happened yet. So when that does happen, boom, off to the races. So, all right, so CME to offer Bitcoin futures. Bitcoin ETFs are the next step after futures. You can actually, so if you have a Roth IRA or an IRA that you manage yourself, you actually will probably be able to have a Bitcoin ETF within the next 12 months would be my assumption, because the ETFs can actually trade against the futures contracts, which is why this one says Bitcoin ETFs are the next step after futures. So futures contracts, you kind of have to have more money in your account in order to trade them. Like to trade the S&P 500 futures, you have to have, I think, a minimum of $2,500 just to trade one contract. It's called a margin requirement. So you have to have $2,500 in your account. But to buy an ETF is an exchange traded fund. It's literally a stock that just sits on the exchange. So here's my trading platform, Thinkorswim, and I'm going to go to the QQQ, which is an ETF for the NASDAQ. And you can go to your stockbroker, type in, Ameritrade, whatever your broker is online or otherwise, type in QQQ. It's going to give you a price of $152.15, and you're going to click buy, and you're going to buy one share of that ETF for $152.15. So you will be able to actually trade Bitcoin within your ETF, or invest in Bitcoin within your ETF, or trade, I'm assuming within the next 12 months, because once these future contracts that the CBOE is putting out there, once these are launched, the CME, once these are launched, they can make ETFs based on that future contract, which is fantastic. So we're going to get really popular here really fast. And if you just want to buy Bitcoin and catch the ride all the way up, then by all means, go ahead and start doing that. Okay, so Bitcoin a little too much for CME, now eyeing futures contract. We just talked about that. One last slide before I finish here. This is from a little bit ago, but it kind of puts some things in perspective from you. This is from June 2017. It mentions the Bitcoin market cap right here at $41 billion. Well, right now we're up here towards $100 billion, actually over. So we're sitting right here in this bubble. And if you look at going up, gold's market cap is 200 times that of Bitcoin. So that's, if we've doubled from there, figure about another 100-fold or so that we have to go in Bitcoin. So that puts us at 400,000 Bitcoin if Bitcoin is going to be valued as much as gold is. And I'm not going to tell you it's going there. I'm not going to tell you, invest until it hits 600,000, but that's a possibility that we get to 500,000 to $1 million Bitcoin. There is a case for that. Keep in mind, so all money here, $83 trillion. All money in the world, $83 trillion. The stock market, $66 trillion. Physical money, $31 trillion. Gold market cap, $8.2 trillion. So Bitcoin is going to do, I think Bitcoin is going to settle somewhere in here. It's going to settle somewhere between 30 trillion and $1 to $2 trillion. That's my general sense. And if you're watching this video, you probably are familiar with Bitcoin. You do know it is a fixed asset. 21 million will ever be printed and will be dead by the time that last one is actually mined. So very scarce resource. We've already jumped Larry Page, Bill Gates, all cryptocurrencies even. I think we're past 100 billion in Bitcoin right now. So we're sitting right here, and Amazon's worth more than 400 billion right now. So Bitcoin is still small. Bitcoin is still extraordinarily viable. Bitcoin is going to increase in value. We're just right now starting to see the big boys step in. And when the big boys come in and start to play the game, everybody makes money. So, All right, there you go. Bitcoin not done. Bitcoin not even started. Not even started. All right, invest, put your money in. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate that. Questions, comments, and concerns below. Love to have a nice conversation with you guys, and I will see you later. Have a good day.